Welcome everyone to the Reinventing You podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Sulli, and you are in the right space if you are looking to reinvent your life. If you feel lost, stuck, alone, unfulfilled, and you're looking for stories, strategies, techniques to help you reinvent your life, to help you get to the other side. This is the space where mentors, teachers, and leaders come on and share their reinventing stories. They share their stories of what they overcame, the challenges that they were faced with, and the tools that they use to get to the other side and find more fulfillment and find more joy in life. I am so excited for our guest today. Our guest speaker is Michelle Crist. She is a mentor and leader making an impact as a featured speaker on summits and podcasts across the globe. Her goal and focus is to impact families struggling to communicate and connect when life gets hard and children and their parents just don't seem to understand each other. Over the past 20 years, Michelle has helped hundreds of families apply practical and tactical action steps to communicate effectively and to create a level of joy that can be experienced consistently in their everyday life. Do you feel like family is an 18-year sentence? It doesn't have to feel like a prison. Michelle is here to give you the tools to break down the walls and create a space where everyone in your family feels heard. Welcome to the Reinventing You podcast, Michelle. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I'm excited to be here. This is fantastic. I love that you do this. So much goodness.
Thank you. You know, you're an amazing woman, and I'm honored to have you. And for you to come on and share a story in your life where you reinvented yourself, where you overcame the odds when you were faced with some real challenges and felt stuck, and just some tools and strategies that maybe you used to overcome those challenges. I'd love to dive in and hear all about you.
Alyssa, it is my pleasure. So I am super passionate about sharing because it comes from a place that I have walked with my own 2 feet. It has been my heart that bled. It has been my hands that shook when the phone rang. Today I was thinking about the phone call, and I wanted to give you it happened in a car and we were doing this, but the gravity of the phone call was so much. My family can't remember exactly what we were doing when the call came. But I remember the look on my husband's face, and he just went pale and white. And it was a few days before my bonus daughter Lily's birthday. And I figured it had something to do with maybe in our divorced family, we're a blended family, she wasn't going to be here, or fourth divorce moment. And it wasn't. It was a phone call letting us know that my bonus son at 12 years old had hung himself. And I got to let you know that I'm going to talk about some heavy stuff here, but it is also one of the most amazing stories to see the journey from that call to where my family is today. If you were to meet Wyatt now, 16-year-old, just doing all the things, we've been driving, learning to drive. But that phone call, there was this shock that it didn't seem real. And what do you mean? We're doing everything that we can do in our power to be the best parents, love each other, share love with our children, and navigate what seemed like a war zone of divorce. And I had this front row seat to 2 people who truly loved each other at some point of their life. They created a family together, and things happened that it fell apart. And I would listen to them try to communicate and realize nobody was being heard. And when I came to this place, getting married, starting a family, we had twin girls that were just a little over a year old. And all this is happening. All it did was ring this deep bell in my chest, in my heart, in my soul. I knew I needed to be more and find a way to help uplift my family. We couldn't stay where we were. And that's a scary place to find yourself. My son survived his attempt. And as just terrifying as the ordeal is, the best thing I can say is, if you can hear the story now and hear where we were, how normal it seems to be there, but the slippery slope we missed and fell down, maybe you get to take those tools and do something different in your life. That's what we're passionate about as a family. It's why I speak. It's why I do events. It's why I dive in both hands into families that, you know what? Their problems don't seem big. They seem normal. Arguing every day, hey, did you get your homework in? Hey, would you finish your bowl of cereal? I mean, can you take your dishes to the kitchen? I mean, all these they're good things.
Good.
My family, we totally we got to own that there was some hard things in our lives that created how we show up in our day. And that moment with Wyatt, and it made me stop and look, how do I have things plugged in? Who am I? Who am I mentoring them to be? Am I just protecting them from traffic and weather and, just making sure they have nutrition? Or am I equipping my children to get through a hard space? Because that moment was at his mom's house. Probably was like any normal argument day where a kid felt overwhelmed, said, "Hey, mom," and she was busy. I mean, it was nothing like, "Hey, the roof fell in and the world fell apart." He literally didn't have the tools or the lenses. We talk about using lenses, and I always pick up my glasses because, we get to pick what kind of glasses we put on. And I realized, man, we've not given him those glasses. We've not given him things to do in that space when you're so overwhelmed. And that was kind of a hard place for us to realize, because we were in debt over our heads. We were getting ready to file bankruptcy, or we had just filed. It was right around that time. My husband and I, medical debt and all kinds of things were just, you feel like your head's underwater and all you do is just grab a breath here and there. And when this happened, I had to own the fact that I have PTSD. I've never been diagnosed. And going through therapy with my bonus son and all the different things that we did as a family, it became very obvious. The stuff that I've been through in my life, absolutely PTSD. My husband is a 2-tour veteran in the Marine Corps. So he's been through some really hard stuff. And everybody, we think we manage our stuff, right? You had a question, Alyssa. You are fantastic. I don't know if you guys know how podcasts work. They send you these amazing, thought-provoking questions. And she had this one. It said, what were you going through? And what actions did you need to create? And I'm like, man, I didn't even know where I was. How was I raising kids intentionally? We were all just reacting and strong. We'd been through our struggles. And from that, I felt strong and completely unequipped to have this kind of moment in my life. So what happened from that point, I decided I had to lean in. I didn't know anything specifically to do other than show him he was loved and not accept that we had to stay here, but it was okay to be here, because from where we were is how we get to go where we want to be. And what I did is I leaned in. I had recently started a network marketing company. These were a bunch of people that believed in overcoming any obstacle. Like, if you could dream it, you could do it. And I thought they were a little crazy, but I needed people to say, it's okay to dream in a way that hurts. It's okay to not be happy with where you are today, not judge it. Anytime we judge it, we're like slamming the door to just stay there. We have to go, this is where I'm at. Where do I want to go? And I wanted my family to be love. I wanted my family to be joyful. And we didn't know how to walk towards that from where we were. So I got really hungry and really curious. Curious became kind of this watchword or this value that I plugged into my life in a way that I read books, I listened to podcasts, I watched church sermons. Made sure I was surrounded with people that were passionate about there being an opportunity after or through struggle. I needed to know more. And it was really interesting because some of them would talk about looking at your own life and looking for the cookies in the cookie jar. What are your wins? And I had never in my life heard about win journaling. I had, always been taught, don't brag, don't make a big deal. If you won, you needed to be gracious. And I believe those things are good, but at the same time, I had spent a lifetime not even keeping tally of the good stuff that happened. And when we do that, the only things that come up are all the bad things. And those things that made me strong, in high school, I had a special moment that made me truly value connection to other people in a way that I wish I could have planned it differently, right? As a freshman in high school, went to my very first parent-teacher conference. And as we left, I was like all excited, right? My parents, my mom, it was specifically my mom, she'd gone with me, and all my teachers said, hey, Michelle's got great grades. She's doing good. And my mom always seemed to be a little bit worried about me. And I didn't ever know why. Well, part of it was I didn't really talk to a lot of people my age. I was kind of skating, but I did not have blue hair. Maybe I would have stuck. Oh my goodness. But
that's the problem. No blue hair.
I just needed blue hair. But this was before cell phones. That really would have stuck out. So we go and I'm like excited and we're getting ready to have the next semester and all the things. And we go to the local grocery store to pick up dish soap and we were out of laundry detergent. And as we're like circling the parking lot, because I live in a small town and I don't know, when everybody goes to the school to talk to the parents, then everybody goes to get their groceries on the way home. It was a crazy madhouse.
Train going from place to place. That's funny.
Oh yeah. And so we were doing the laps, and on one of the laps, I saw what would be my, and remember, I told you I'm going to tell you some heavy stuff, but every one of them have like a deep value that came out of it. That is, I have to share it so that you get the diamond that's in my life and I can share the diamond. My teacher, Mr. Zook, was having some kind of an argument by a car, but I didn't really know what was going on. And as we came around, he actually limped in front of our car to go into the store. He didn't have his glasses on his face, and it was a very odd moment. Now, we were stopped because the lady was pulling out of the parking place so we could park right there by the door. I mean, we were going to get in, get our dish soap and our stuff. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a man. I thought it was like a kid with a toy, but it was a man come up with a gun. And he loaded the gun, walked up into the store right behind my teacher, and shot him. I mean, there are these moments in life, like the phone call with Wyatt, that everything becomes flat and two-dimensional. All the emotions, like your body is in that fight or flight, like, what am I going to do? He calmly turned around, went out the outdoor, looks me square in the face, ejects the shell, and keeps going. And I'm like, what do I do? I mean, I can't help my teacher. Do I try to stop this man? Does he have any more bullets? You want to talk about having your whole life flipped upside down in a blink. As a freshman in high school. So my mom, she had, adult thoughts. She got out of there. She backed the car up and left. And he just kept going. And we went back and spoke with the police, let them know what happened. And they ended up having me testify. And it was such a difficult thing to sit there and speak a horror in front of the man that did it. And the piece that stuck with me so long was the very first day I went back to school after this happened. Now, we stayed home because, again, before cell phones, it took a little while to find him. It was actually a bit of a family trauma that had even led to that incident.
Mm.
When I walked into school for the first day, I couldn't believe how normal it was. Nothing had changed. Everybody's going to the same classes. My teachers are all still yelling about, don't run in the hallway. And I am completely shifted inside. Like neutral. I hadn't even picked a gear to be in. It is like, and as I sit down in my first class, the teacher starts talking. I look around at all the students. I realized they wouldn't have known if he'd shot me too until they got in that class. I didn't know them. They didn't know me. I'd never made an effort to do anything other than turn in my homework. If you needed a pencil or something, I probably would have shared, but I didn't ask you,
Yeah.
and something
If I,
shifted.
if I could, I wanna just kind of summarize and highlight some really valuable things you're pointing out.
Yeah.
And two really amazing experiences that for so many, and with COVID and just within my community, people are really just expressing how hard life is, these situations and circumstances that life is just throwing at them, the sudden what they thought was normal isn't normal, where they're just going through the motions, where they were comfortable and everything in their life was put upside down. Like you just shared two really impactful stories of your son, and then also of your teacher. But the beautiful piece of it is that your perspective on it is recognizing that these situations happened. I was frozen. I was numb.
Yeah.
I thought I was equipped to handle life. And then when it was thrown at me, I was like, oh, okay, maybe not, but I'm going to progress forward. And you showed us that access the community around you, your multi-level marketing, and being around these people that were thinking differently, exposing yourselves to podcasts and reading books, gaining more resources. You have knowledge and tools that you grasp. You gain new knowledge and school tools, and the perspective of I have to show up differently if I want a different outcome, because what else is to come?
Yes.
What a beautiful, you've shared so many amazing points. I just want to make sure that we're grasping everything you're pointing out.
I love your timing, because here was the flipper. You have I had that realization, and then something happened. I asked a question. Oh my gosh, so powerful. So when I coach, we talk about power questions, and I have my favorite one or two that break the shell on so many things for myself, my family, others. But I asked myself, well, why am I here? Not in a snarky defeatist or anything else, just simply, why am I here then? If they don't know me and I don't know them, and God still has me on this planet, I still have breath in my lungs, that tragedy did not take me. It's okay to be where I am. It's okay. I promise, I don't care where you are. If there is breath in your lungs, it's okay to be there. I've been empty places where that was all I could do. My next breath was all I could commit to. That moment made me realize we have to connect to other people. Because if the only person that misses us when we're gone is the people that are in our house, or were our family growing, or maybe we don't have anybody left that's doing that, we are here for connection. There is something powerful that happens, but we have to remember something. We have this storm. Do we have time for a short story?
We do.
Because,
go for it.
So that was my freshman year in high school. My senior year, and I've got to remind you that until Wyatt took his drastic steps and I stopped and said, okay, what tools do I have in my toolbox that I can even pass on? And I looked through my life, through the things I've survived, the things that inspired me to make a change. And these rocks came up, these stories, these pillars. And I decided that what happens in those big moments, it's like you have like a veil put over you, or you're in the middle of surviving. You plug in meanings as to who you are and who you can be and what you can do. Those, it's like little USB things, you've got your cords attached. Unless we pause and go back and make sure that we didn't plug the iPhone into the Android port and got all this all wackadoo,
right.
things happen in our lives and we get a little confused where they came from. Well, it's okay to be where we are. Now let's figure out if we can unplug some stuff and plug it in where it needs to be. So my trauma, I mean, we hear people talk about legacy trauma. I didn't even realize I was passing on how I dealt with it, how I survived from it, but that wasn't equipping. That wasn't giving you good tools to build a framework in your life. And this is what I found out when I thought about my senior year in high school, studying for calculus. I had a good friend because that day, by the way, my freshman year, I met a friend. Her name is Trisha. She's fantastic. I love her still today, but something happened since I was looking to connect, not add value, not to change anything, just smile at somebody and say, I see you, and you can see me if you want to, but I see you and you're doing good. That's all I had. I smiled at, we were friends. We had some things in our life that were broken the same way. We understood struggle in the same way. And so it made a connection. Well, we went through high school, being buddies, playing softball, but Trisha had this home life that most people didn't ever bother to look past, that she got straight A's, that she was always willing to help, and that she never had a problem. She was not a problem child. She was not a problem student. She always ran faster than me. She always achieved. As we were studying for the calculus test, the phone rings and I had to go into the kitchen because, again, no cell phones. I'm old. We just established this morning.
Yeah, there was pagers. We had pagers.
I did not. It was a long time ago. I don't even
know. A pager?
I don't think, no way.
They
no
were
way.
like new. Yeah. Mine was like that big. I thought it was really cool because it was it's way too big. Anyway.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I did remember somebody having like a bag phone, like one person in the entire very large school. Yeah. Okay. But so I grabbed the phone, think old school plastic, cold on the cheek, right?
Yeah. With the
to pick it up. Right.
Yeah.
There was this sobbing woman on the other side. I couldn't understand the words. Finally, I figured out that my friend's mom needed her to go home and she would be there any minute to pick her up. I'm like, okay. So we all kind of just put away our homework and went and stood outside, and her car pulls up. It's that kind of car that has no color. It's been beat up and it's just metal. And, and I remember watching her open the car door and looking in at her mom, and her mom's like gripping the steering wheel and she won't look away. Tears streaming down her face. She's just shaking. Trisha, totally calm, gets in, shuts the door. And the gravel kind of crunches as they pull down the alley. And I know now the seeds of what I went through as a freshman. I couldn't just let her go. I couldn't let her just drive away and assume she'd be fine. There was this disquiet, this dropping in my heart, this heaviness in my stomach. And so we had a young man that was studying calc with us, and he's got to be 70 pounds sopping wet. And I'm like, I need you to come with me to go over and check she's okay. He's like, no, I am not going in that house. Trisha's father was home from prison, and everybody knew he had a temper. Everybody understood that there was just this war zone in their home zone. I never said it that way, but that's exactly what it was. War zone in the home zone. And everybody just, as long as Trisha was fine, assumed everything would be okay. And I couldn't do it. I said, I don't need you to go in. I need you to sit in the car, and when I don't come out in 10 minutes, I need you to go get me some help. I need you to go call the police. Because I went into her home fully knowing that all of his anger, all his a lot of mental health issues. Side note, their family has had a complete uh, renewal. Like, he's been able to find a relationship with his daughter and his grandchildren and come from that place where he was. But when I knocked on the front door, her mom like peeked her nose out, and I just kind of gently pushed past her, and she went and hid in a corner. I mean, she was terrified. And I don't know if you've ever stood in a room that there was like pressure from the emotion. The space itself just weighs and pushes you back. He was yelling and screaming from a room just past Trisha's room. And so I never saw him, and he never saw me. But I just loudly, politely said, "Sir, I need to ask Trisha a question. I'll be gone in a minute." And I walked to her room, and I opened her door. And I will never forget that look on her face, because she was like shocked and confused and thankful. I talked with her recently, and I said, "Do you remember that moment?" She goes, "My life changed there." And that's not she's a mama. She has a lot of things. She goes, "No, my life changed there." And I stood there, and I'm like, mine did too. Because what happened was, I walked in the door and I said, "Are you okay? Are you where you need to be? Because if we need to leave, you can leave with me right now. I will make that happen. I don't care what it takes. We'll leave right now." And she like hugged me so big, and she said, "I'm okay." Like, she knew this storm. This is a drastic storm. A lot of us, our storm is just getting the groceries in the fridge, making sure people have food, COVID and homeschooling and remote this, and don't go in here, and I can't go in my bank, but I can't go in a McDonald's, and I got to wear my mask. And I don't know what the storm for you looks like, but right now I think everybody's got a pretty big one going. We had both paused our storm and looked at each other to make sure we were okay. And I saw her, she saw me. And that moment in our lives, I just got told by my husband I'm 42 this year. That moment has rung through our entire lives. Her life, my life, our kids, our children. You connecting with another person, because I don't think I've put it together till you and I talked today, Alyssa. We both, my friend and I, have a passion for seeing people where they are and uplifting them. It just, once you connect with a person that way, we didn't have tools for each other. We didn't have an answer for each other, but we connected. So stack all some really amazing tools fall out, because I had to be able to package these lessons and give them to my kids. Because I have Wyatt, who is in need of these immediately. I have my bonus daughter, who is currently 8 and going on 25. She needs them in her life. And then we all talk about my twin daughters that are 5, that they won't know what it was not to live in the joyful house that we have built from where we were, because it had to be joy. Joy is not happiness. Happiness is you got somebody that paid for your coffee at Starbucks, and maybe there's a free movie on you like, and your favorite socks are clean in the drawer, perfect. They're warm, everything. That's happy. Everything lined up good. Joy, my tire's flat and the car won't start, and the grade was not what you were hoping for, even though you put the effort in. And it's okay. It's not attached to our worthiness. It's not how the day goes. We are human beings, not human doings. What we do does not define who we are. And helping my kids go through that, going through that journey myself, and then linking arms with friends as I've coached them through nutrition and weight loss and all those things, and this mindset piece, something really cool has been born. My son is excited to share and uplift other people. And he actually has friends that come to him as someone to talk to and connect with. And we recently have understood there is a value to play. I mean, as silly as that sounds, if all we do is problem solve, we usually end up being kind of grouchy with each other. Like my husband and I painted the living room. All the kids are gone. It's like a parent day. We're like so excited. Breakfast is fantastic. Lunch, we're okay. By afternoon, we're like arguing. And I'm like, where did our day go crazy? And we sat there, we realized the only talking to each other we had done was, oh, you stepped in paint. Oh, here, do you need a drink? Or, we didn't like play. We didn't connect. We were too busy with the checklist. And so in the middle of homeschooling and taking care of our kids at the table and doing all the things, we've realized the value of intentionally playing games that we get to connect with each other. My son loves Magic the Gathering. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, sure, we'll try it. I like chess. It is more complicated than chess. I love it. And we have had so much emotional and relationship growth, personal growth and development. I had a coach give me some really amazing advice. He didn't say it this snarky, but this is how I remember it. The only thing that grows on purpose would be our hair and our waist. I mean, it's the only thing. And so if we want to emotionally grow, we have to choose that. We have to choose to put in the lenses of joy. So do you want some tools? Can I give you tools?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I just want to summarize, there's interesting because as you spoke to your friend, is it Trisha or Tracy?
Trisha. Yeah.
Trisha. And you said, I found myself multiple times in your stories and different stories. I became emotional at the most, like almost like the more odd moments, not the traumatic moment, not the aha moment, not really understanding, but it's like when you spoke to a woman calling you and you could feel the sobs and hear the sobs, and you spoke of her hands clenched to the steering wheel. Like I become emotional, and I become emotional because I'm a single mom. I've got 2 kids. I'm, with COVID, I have a great relationship with my ex-husband. We have another business together, but it's hard sometimes. And when you speak to connection, I know that is like the foundation of your message of connecting. I had a friend tell me, both my daughters are experiencing anxiety. I ended up in the ER last week because one's having severe heart palpitations and chest pain. And so I was talking to a friend, and he's like, well, maybe it's part of the divorce. Like maybe that's why. And I was like, I don't think so, because they, they've done so well, and it's been so long. And then I said, I think it's because of COVID and the inactivity and whatever. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop. Hold on. How can I automatically disassociate something because I think it's okay, right? So I did this week. I went up to both my daughters separately, and I asked my oldest, she's 12, and I said, I just wanted to ask about the divorce and how you're doing and how you're feeling about it. And she's like, oh, Mom, it's totally fine. She says, at first it was hard. But then it's fine. She says, we have such a good system, the way everything works. It's really good. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went and I asked my other daughter, and I got a similar response. She's like, Mom, no, I'm good. I feel good about things. It doesn't bother me. And, maybe there's an underlining thing there, and maybe, there's more to it. But it is to say that I'm opening the communication, as you did with Trish. You stopped and you had the conversation. You connected. You let her feel seen. I just love that you're messaging. I love, and I'm seeing how the value, and I don't have the traumatic experiences that you're speaking to, right? But just in my day-to-day frustrations of trying to run a business, building a second business, being a single mom, and then having my girls with me half the time, and just just trying to be the best version of yourself, trying to grow. We have 6 main human needs, and one of the most essential is connection and love and significance. And when we see people and when we show them that we love them and we care enough to connect with them, what an impact you can make. You're serving and you're contributing, and that's another 6 human needs. So you speak to the 6 human needs we have and how important they are to bring into our lives, and you teach that. And I love your diverse experience and the truth of, I had a funky childhood in that I come from lots of different divorces, and I just never spoke up, and I was very suicidal. I ended up with an eating disorder and all that stuff, but nobody said anything. It was never spoken to. You just brushed it off because from the outside it looked great. And I loved how you spoke to that and how you can serve in that space of, just knowing like you have traumatic experience, you have, less traumatic experience, but you've been around a plethora of family scenarios where you can see it and sense where the loopholes are that we can maybe grow and develop as a family and communicate at a higher level to really create that joy you speak to about not being perfect and happy and blissful, but just about embracing life as it presents itself and continuing to grow and be the best version of yourself. You provided so many valuable tools and knowledge, and I'm still emotional a little bit just because I appreciate what you bring. So
I love it, Alyssa. I wish I could hug you. I'm such a hugger because connection is not just, but hugging, it'll come back someday. It will. And I love that you asked the question. One of the things that I have to catch myself, because we often, in our infinite wisdom, already know what other people are thinking. And especially the people we spend the most time with, each other's favorite food, how you like to have your towel after a bath. I mean, these people know what your underwear drawer look like. So the thing is, we stop asking questions. Right. Curiosity creates glue, and you're letting them answer however they want to be. And sometimes it is what you thought they would answer. But some of the most profound moments are when I ask the question. As a coach and a mom, there's usually, I know where the conversation is going. Not always. There are some that have just knocked me on my butt. But I ask the question because the minute they hear it come out of their mouth, they suddenly have a better understanding. And the more we've done that, they don't depend on me to start asking the questions. And then we're modeling that for our children. And for me, I learned this kind of in a corporate space, a business building space. And I can speak to that all day, but there is this passion that I don't want families to just keep checking the, to-do list and end up in this really precarious place that when the overwhelm comes, because life happens. I hope you never have any of the heavy stuff come swinging at you like I have, but it's going to happen. COVID or losing a job or just something unexpected. If you know how to own your joy, how to build your joy, how to share your joy, then you are in a place where, you know what, you're going to handle whatever comes. And if you can build those relationships, add more glue, not just stack bricks together, but add glue, the fun times, the giggling over stupid stuff. Don't worry about it being right, being intentional with that. The hard stuff gets way easier. And I wish I could teach my parents so they could teach me, but all we can do is be where we are and share it where we're at. So.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. I love, what an amazing message. And there's just so many great nuggets that you provided today. But I did want to ask, first and foremost, where I want to wrap it up with one final question, but I do want everybody to know where they can find you. Where can, they get your information and more knowledge and work with you?
Absolutely. So tacticaljoy.life is my website. Or if you want to just find me on Facebook, Michelle Crist on Facebook, and I usually accept all the friend requests. I love hearing where people are at. And can I share a challenge?
Sure,
Like,
absolutely, go
because
for it.
I will tell you, so we talk about some, I have a tactical joy workshop that we run through for parenting and family joy and building that framework. But we talk about having gas in your tank. You've got to have gratitude, action, and strategy. And I'm going to encourage an action moment. I want everybody to pause, at least today, and connect with somebody else. Don't have a reason, don't have a agenda. Ask a question that means nothing to you, but they will feel seen, and then listen. And honestly, if you do it every day, it like adds so much value to your own heart and soul. But I'm challenging you, if you heard this today, if you're here, I know you have a passion for reinvention. I know you have a passion for people, yourself, your life, and the impact that happens. This is the small step I took. It was a seed that grew way beyond what I could ever imagine.
Connection. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you. And so I do want to wrap up. And maybe you answered it already, but I do want to ask if you could choose one word that would, when someone, no matter how traumatic life is right now, whether, it's all perception, but just things are hard. And if there's just one word they could put in their mind when they're feeling challenged, when they're struggling to connect with people in their home, when, everything just seems to be falling onto them, what is one word that they could capture in their mind to help them? What word would you choose?
I know my words that I am now, but to the person you're talking to, be curiously hungry. Curiously hungry. I know that's two, but
I love it.
hunger is not hurtful. Hunger is a drive to fill something. And if you're curious, I mean, I've literally heard of a cancer doctor that asks his patients, he's cheeky. I'll tell you what, he asked them, why do they need this cancer? And I'm like, whoo. He's also one of the best. He has amazing patient stories because you know what? They go, what can I find of value here? What's the diamond in this? What if it's happening for me? What else can this mean?
Yeah.
Questions, and when we're curious, doors open that we didn't even see them. We didn't know they were there. And usually the impact in our lives and the lives around us is just awe-inspiring. It seems bigger than the small action can truly be.
Yeah. Curiously hungry. I love it. Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate your stories, your time, your experience, and your tools and resources and tactics that you teach us to help us connect at a higher level in life.
Thank you.